Welcome to the complete Boomi Bootcamp 2026, Episode 7, Process Route and Cache. Our agenda for today is Process Route, Add to Cache, Retrieve from Cache, Remove from Cache, and Next Steps. Process Route. Let's open our demo process and select the process route so that we can have a look at it. To dynamically select the process or trading partner to send documents based upon routing rules defined in a specified process route or processing group in component, use the process route step. The process route step is useful for sending documents to one of several processes while managing the routing logic separately. It also allows you to modify and deploy the parent process. So I think according to the definition of the process route, it's a good idea to create a couple of processes just to have them so that we can select them later in the process route. So create a new process. We give it a name. Suggestion is process route 1. Name the process properly, process route 1. No data. And we create another process. Process route 2. And let's just create another process. Process route 3. Let's add a stop step. So maybe notify step is also a good idea, so we can document that the process route was selected. And we'll add the steps in the other processes. Back to our demo process. Let's connect the process route like this. And let's make some place for our new process that we are building for demonstration. Okay, let's configure the process route step. First, we give it a display name. Process route. Yeah, so let's create a process route. Give it a name. Demo process route. Process route components are deployable components used to execute subprocess dynamically from with a process based on a reference that is set at runtime. Okay, determines whether documents are passed through to a subprocess for further processing. This is checked by default. Process routing. Process routing use keys to determine which process should be called. Okay, then let's create a key. And for a key, let's define the buyer ID as a key. So our goal is to use the buyer ID to determine which route to take or which process to call. You know? So we just copy a buyer ID from here, from the sales data, for example this one, and use it as a key in our process route. So just copy it, and then I will paste it here first in the label just to indicate the key, and then here in the actual route key we will paste our buyer ID. Then here, route to process, we can choose our process route, and to make it more obvious or visible, I will add also the buyer key in the name of the process, so that in the process route to process we can select this process. Then we will add the other two processes. And therefore we will copy two more buyer IDs, for example this one. We'll create another key, label buyer ID, and then we have the buyer ID as a route key, and then we choose the next process route 2. I will add the buyer ID here, and then it's clear which process we take. And another buyer ID for the process route 3. Take this one. Just rename the process route, create another key, give it a label with the buyer ID as an indicator. here we paste in the buyer ID as route key. Here. Process route 3. And then just put some parentheses here. That's strange. Okay, but let's configure. So we need to choose the process route we just created. Then we can have disconnected here. That is the default branch. Then we think we need route parameters. Select parameter types and values to the basis for process routing. And we will need the buyer ID, of course. Is not sure. CSV to XML. I think I need the XML profile. XML. Then it's the purchase order XML profile. And the element is the ID. Tests run for demo process you are attempting to complete it with the following errors. Invalid data element, mandatory element empty. I think there were some... We set something up in the profile. Let's check. Yeah, the buyer ID is sometimes there is no value, so I will delete the blank rows here to make sure that the data is clean, is always with values. We'll just copy the content of the new file and we'll paste it in the file, in the sub-process here, sales data. We'll paste in the new content where every buyer ID is filled. I'll test it again. Invalid Valid data element 98 min length not reached. Okay, then I guess we have to modify the profile. Let's go to the map, purchase order XML profile. Check it. No, this is the wrong profile. I think we need to modify the sales data profile here. Yeah. And we don't do the field length validation. We will uncheck this. So now it should be okay, the data or the profile. Oh, let's try. Invalid shape configuration. The specified subprocess does not have the data pass-through option selected in start shape. Okay, I remember. I set the start shape to no data, but obviously we need the configuration to be set to data pass-through. So we'll do this for every start shape in the process route 1, 2, and 3. Well, process routing is okay. Here you see pass-through is checked on, determines whether the documents are passed through to a subprocess for further processing. And it's checked, so I have to set up the start shape also to pass through. So like this. And then I have to make the recommended change. Like this. Process route 1, process route 2. It's the same. Set to data pass-through. Save. Process route 3. Also modify to data pass-through. Oh, I have to make the recommended changes. Okay. Like this, save it. Now try again. Test again. Hopefully this works now. Yeah, now it works, but Azure SQL DB connector is still pending. And I guess there will be an error because this Azure SQL DB, yeah, there's an error. That's only because it's a free database. It will turn off when it's not used. It takes a couple of minutes or some 10 seconds, something like this, to spin off and to be active. So I will just test again and hope that the Azure SQL database is up and running by now. Yeah, that worked. So database was just sleeping. So we have a look at the demo process route, and we can see that here for this parameter, this buyer ID, the process route 1 was activated. And similar to this, if you look in the log file, for example, for for process route 2 was activated by route key that was provided by me, and the same is for process route 3. It's also activated. And for the other buyer ID, none of the process route 1, 2 or 3 was activated. Instead, the default process was activated. See, for example, default for route key, this one. So it means that depending on the route key you provided in the process route, different processes will be activated. Here you can see it in the step source data. You have this buyer ID, and that will activate this process route 1. You can monitor this, what it happens here in the log file. As, the same is for process route 2. This was also activated. And the same is for the process route 3. And as you can see, for all the other buyer ID, since we did not provided a route key, they just follow the default process route. Add to cache. We will create a new folder for the demonstration of the document cache. So we gave it the name demo document cache. And here we will create a new process. Demo document cache. To demonstrate the document cache, I prepared some files for this. It means that we will create a new message. Just to show you the file, I have the buyer ID, and on the right side I have the buyer name. It's just some random car brands I have here, and the goal is that we create a data cache or document cache that will hold the buyer ID and the buyer name. So first of all, we need a message to hold the file. So we call it lookup data. Just copy the content of the file here. This message, paste it in. You see buyer ID, buyer name, and then the rows containing data. So we have the data now, and next is a branch. because I want to demonstrate or explain the add to cache. Let's make four branches. So something's missing. I think this is better. So in the first branch I have the data that is going to be added to the cache. And there's the add to cache step. Add documents to cache. We create a new document cache, demo document cache. So profile type is a flat file. And we need to create a new flat file profile. So let's call it look up data flat file profile. File delimiter is a comma delimited, and we will check on the use column headers so that we have the field names. Back to data elements, we can now import the file. Let's quickly select the file. There it is, look up buyer ID, buyer name CSV. And then we have the buyer ID, buyer name as headers and the data underneath. I'll quickly check. Okay, that looks good. Data types, characters is also good. I think we can save it for now. Yeah. Enforce one index entry per document is the default configuration. It's the recommended one. And we now add an index. Index, you will need it to define which field you want to use to look up data with. Yeah. So please pay attention. There are two fields, add profile and add document property. If you click on the right side, you can choose the property type, source type and connector, but this is not what we want. So please pay attention. If you add an index, give it an index name, and then pay attention if you select the left or right side. On the left side is the add profile element, what we want. So we can choose the buyer ID. And now we can save that one. And back to our add cache step. Can save it for now. And since I think we need a data process step, because I want the rows to be separate documents. So I will just add a data process property, split by line, return first line as column headers, so that I have every row as a separate document. Display name, we give it a name, split documents, and then we can connect it to the add to cache step, rearrange and test the process. And my expectation is that the document cache will hold, I think it was 13 rows, so it should have 14 separate documents later in the document cache. We will check this in a few seconds. So process was executed. Here you see the step source data is just one file containing the header line and 14 rows. And if we look into the add to cache step, we have 14 entries here in the logs and 14 different documents. We have a look at it. Here you see buyer ID, buyer name. This was Ford. This is Audi. And let's look at the last one. It's Opel. And if we compare it to the CSV file, we have Ford, Audi, and the last one is Opel. So this looks good to me. Yeah. We have some blank branches left. This will fill me out. Retrieve from cache. So we are at the second branch, and here I would like to explore the retrieve from cache step. As you can see, we can have a stop step at the end and configure the retrieve from cache step now. How does it work? Just select or give it a display name first, retrieve from cache. Yes, we can select the document cache. No, we don't want to create a new one. We just select the one that we created before. And as an option, we can retrieve just all documents. Empty cache behavior. Define how the retrieve from cache step should behave when the document cache is empty. Stop document execution is the default configuration. We just test it now. And in the stop step, there should be all 14 documents now, because we want all the documents from the retrieve from cache step. As you can see, step source data is blank, and the step source data in the stop step is 14 documents. So it worked like expected. Also have the Ford. Now I think there was another option. Retrieve all documents, but specify whether you want all documents retrieved from the document cache component by selecting all documents, or to retrieve selected documents. Specify the index that you want the selected documents retrieved from the document cache component. Yes, that looks good. Look up data is the index name we have, and there we specified the buyer ID. So yeah, buyer ID is the key, and now we can input a static value. That's the key we want to use to get the document. And for example, we use the buyer ID that is assigned to, let's take Porsche, I think, this one, so that we get the Porsche as buyer name. Just paste in the buyer ID that is assigned to Porsche. It's okay, save, test. And my expectation is that we get exactly one document in the stop step, namely the document that is assigned to Porsche. So we have a look at the step source data, one document, and voila, Porsche. remove from cache. So now let's take a look how the remove from cache steps is working. But before that, I think it's a good idea to rearrange the steps. So let's create the remove from cache step here. Save it. You can configure this. First give it a display name. Remove from cache. And we have a document cache here we can select. And we want to use the lookup data to remove a specific document. So which one should we take? Let's take the one for Mercedes. So we want to remove that document. So let's input the value as a static value. And just to remember it, we have Mercedes, remove from cache, Mercedes. Now we test that one. I'm curious what happens if there's how the remove from cache step behaves. Okay, it's nothing special. So just as a test, we want to put in the same buyer ID for Mercedes just to verify that there's no result, because my expectation is that if we want to retrieve that document that is assigned to Mercedes, there should be no result because it's not in the cache. And as you can see, the stop step is not activated. So that means there's no result. Yeah? The document is not found. So let's do another test. This time not with Porsche, but maybe with Mazda. Let's take this buyer ID assigned to Mazda and paste it here like this. Save it, run another test. My expectation is that the stop step is now filled with one specific document, namely the one that is assigned to Mazda. Let's have a look at the step source data, and there you see Mazda. So everything is fine. Next steps. In episode 8, we have the following agenda: business rules, try catch, exception, and flow control. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode.